During the May Council meeting, Councillor Marshall raised issues about the fees and charges at the Victor Habror Cemetery. Let's go and listen to what he has to say.
I would like to do a Councillor Charles show and tell here, or a Nick Xenophon stunt, whatever you would like to think. This is in relation to the fees in the cemetery. I'd like you to meet my family. Four sets of cremated remains that I recently received from Centennial Park because the licences had expired and the costs there were prohibitive. Yeah, they're like kitty litter. Now, some of you may be aware that I've worked in the funeral industry.
Please excuse me for a moment.
Yeah, thank you. The funeral industry and the cemetery industry. And I have to say that until you actually have a direct involvement with this, it's all just money and fees, and it doesn't really ring home. My grandmother and grandfather are buried in the Victor Habror Cemetery, and I was wanting to have these ashes placed in that existing grave, which is in licence until 2098. I'm quite concerned because, as I say, this has only really affected me because it's affected me, and now I've seen how it will affect other people as well. The council wants, according to its new fees and charges, $688 each for each of these to be put in an existing site. The Local Government Act requires councils to provide cemeteries and places to deal with human remains, and I don't think that it's ever been envisaged by anybody that this should be a profit-making effort. It should be an effort to deal with families, deal with deceased remains, and do it sensitively. Looking through these figures and having a chat with Brian Doman, it may be that I can reduce the intermity of these ashes down to $2,115. But if I pay the full price, and I'm not saying I shouldn't pay full price, the cost will be $2,752. And I just ask people here whether they think that's fair when you've already got an existing site there that's been paid for. There's no cost, or very little cost. The actual physical cost of putting these into the grave are probably maybe $100 in staff time. And I think we should be just charging at cost for these type of things once you put further remains into a grave. It's not as if you're digging a grave, doing a lift and deepen or putting in another coffin burial. It's only a simple matter. Now, in this particular case, there's what they call a register on top of the grave, which is a big marble slab that's got to be removed as well. So that's another issue. But I'm not. What I'm saying here is that we just need to realise the cost and the psychological effect this could have on some people who struggle to pay for these things.
Just in response, I guess the fees and charges are set by council and they're determined by a number of factors, but there is no reason why council cannot review or amend its own fees and charges. They're your fees and charges. So as a directive from the chamber that we can actually look and bring that back with further information about what costs are involved and look at reviewing them. There's also the ability for delegations to be provided where exemptions and concessions can be provided in certain circumstances under council's fees and charges provisions. So there is that flexibility, and I respect your concerns and those challenges, but we can look at them.
If I could just clarify something, Mr Mayor, I'm not asking for any special treatment and I don't expect it. I'm just trying to highlight the cost to some families. I also realise that fees and charges are set by a lot of cemeteries based on what the cemetery down the road is charging and not what it actually costs. I mean, a lot of people's fee structures are set like that. When you go to a vet or to a dentist or whatever, they all set their fees on what they can get away with. And I'm sorry, but I just don't think that's appropriate when it comes to things like cemeteries.
South Coast Television, your community, your voice.